Pandora's box is opened. That is always the case if people invent something like a hammer, they build beautiful stuff, or sometimes they bash people's heads in with it.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Tech Leaders Podcast AI series. Kerensa and I have a real treat for you this week. Rodger Werkhoven from OpenAI. That's right, OpenAI. Rodger joins us from the International Short Film Festival in Oberhausen, Germany, where he was part of the production team in a recent AI-generated movie. Rodger has been involved in exceptional projects, namely ChatGPT and DALL-E. So we discuss this, of course, and we also delve into the intriguing world of AI-generated content and explore the true nature of authorship and how this is going to be impacted. We also examine the rapid diffusion of AI technology and the disruptive implications, along with the endless possibilities and also the controversies surrounding AI's role in shaping our creative landscape. Furthermore, we discuss OpenAI's Auto GPT plus the next evolution of ChatGPT 3.5 and 4. We also confront the boundaries of AI and its immense potential. This is a fantastic conversation. Let's jump right in. Rodger, thank you so much for coming on the Tech Leaders Podcast. We have been so excited about this one. Where do we start? I tell you what, I've got an idea. Let's start with this. What excites you most about the evolution of AI technology?
It excites me that I now have like a partner, a synthetic partner, like a PA almost also, that does so much of the dreary work for me. But I also see it, of course, it doesn't understand me, but in the dialogue, it seems it understands me, doesn't make many mistakes. It does what I want it to do, or tries in the creative field, and surprises me because it fails often. And the surprises are, taking my work and art in new directions. So I love the surprises. It's awesome that it doesn't perfectly understand me, which OpenAI won't agree because they want perfect alignment, of course, of this technology with what humans want from it. But also, it already was there for a long time doing all the stuff under the hood for the advertising industry. It was already there, finding the right target audiences that were open for the messages, the commercial messages, at the right time, at the right place. So it was already helping us. It was already in our phones for a long time, making all these beautiful pictures as if you have a really awesome camera. It finds stuff we want to find in these photo albums, etc. So it was already there, but now it's also so visible. It's almost also addictive, because if you, in natural language, you prompt something and it returns something, it's like a gambling machine almost. For what will it pop up? Will it bring up the right 4 images that I want? Or it's really addictive too. So there's so many aspects.
And Rodger, it's so good to have you with us. And I'm just interested in your creative process. How do you feel that it's evolving because of the new tools that you can deploy at the moment? How is it pushing you to new creative dimensions?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because I have this second agenda. So yes, I make stuff I like, but I am not this free, autonomously working creative artist. I'm also thinking, how will an audience react? What discussions will come from it? Will I inspire them to work with this technology because that's the goal? Or will I only scare them? I cannot go too far out, because then people will perhaps not understand its relevance anymore. On one hand, I would like to do really, really new stuff. On the other hand, I'm doing stuff that people can relate to. And that's also why I work with other artists and bring them on board to give it also a more experimental edge. So I don't have to do it all by myself.
So give us an example of a recent collaboration where you've pushed yourself and other artists have pushed themselves and you've created something new or different or surprising that has really kind of blown your mind.
Well, because, I'm here at the Oberhausen Film Festival because of a short AI-generated film is screening here. And I asked artist Arno Koene to work with me and work with OpenAI with DALL-E 2. When I asked him, come work with this artificial intelligence, it's awesome. He was against it. He was like, no way, art should be for humans and not for machines or synthetic minds. I'm not gonna. And then I showed them what we could do with it. And then he was intrigued, like, wow, can it do that? And then when we gave him access and he could fiddle along and try and work with DALL-E 2, he became the artist he should be. He started testing it, but also he tried to do stuff that OpenAI would perhaps not like. So he would prompt things that would trick DALL-E into making images and art that are, how do you say, not straight away pleasing or happy. So he became that artist that I was looking for. And that was interesting because he took it further. He was even kicked out of the program for a while. And because he used words that OpenAI didn't like, or the model, the tuned model didn't like much. And so I also had to try and bring him on board again, which worked. And so people that are now looking at these results, at that movie that we made, they are amazed that they see stuff moving, talking, and it is all very natural. The animations of these new entities we created, they look like they're really alive. And we also have a lot of humor in it. So people also think it's funny, which is a good thing, of course. But what they don't understand, what people can't get their head around, it's an AI by the idea. It's another AI company that's working also with the APIs of OpenAI. And what people can't get their head around is that you give it one image of an entity, of a creature. You write a lot of text that is like 15 minutes of speech, for instance, and that this AI studies the face, studies the text, makes a speech of 3 minutes, but it makes it in just a couple of seconds. And we never, as humans, were able to do that. A rapper could never create a rap of 5 minutes in 1 minute. It was not possible, but these AI models are doing that, and that is also what people think is fascinating. It's bending time.
Can I ask you a slightly different question, which is, what are the most irritating things that people ask you when it comes to thinking about this debate? Or what are the things that are most provocative?
People ask me, but then you are not the artist. Then the AI is the artist. Or they ask us, it's not your work, so it is all OpenAI's work now. They say, yeah, but what you're making is fake. So you're dangerous. You're putting fake stuff into the world.
Yeah.
And I like these concepts and ideas and questions a lot because they trigger the most fun discussions about what is real, what is not real, who should own the copyrights. Will an AI do this stuff all by itself, or does it really, need human input? And so you get really interesting discussions from these questions.
Could you give us your sort of rebuttal to that accusation then, Rodger? If someone says to you, this piece of art is not yours, Rodger, well, what would you say back to that individual?
I always give them the example of how Jeff Koons works. He is, if he wants a big steel balloon dog, then he sends an email to the steel factory that makes these things for him. He sends a mail saying, I need a 5-meter high balloon dog this time. Should be very smooth surfaces. I want it purple, but the purple color has to be transparent so the steel shines through. I don't want to see any lines where you connected, welded the steel. When it's finished, send me a couple of pictures so I can judge it. And when he sees these pictures from the steel factory, he says, yeah, this is right, this is nice. Send that one to Dubai, send that one to the United States, to my customers that pay millions for it. So what he is doing is the same thing. He is prompting, but in an email, and the
Yes.
two creatives or workers at the steel factory. But is it then their steel balloon dog because they made it? Or is it Jeff Koons, his steel balloon dog, because he ordered it? And it's the same thing with artificial intelligences like DALL-E, because you brief them and they make it. And so, yeah, your mind, your creative direction makes not all the difference, but a lot of difference.
Yeah, of course. But thank you for giving us a bit more of a simplistic rebuttal, though, because I think that is a big conversation that people are having right now and are going to have more so over the next couple of years, especially in sort of the education sector, for example, we were talking about with another guest recently, and so on and so forth. But let's maybe put this on hold for now then, because I would love to just unpack your background a little bit, Rodger, for the listeners who are unfamiliar with yourself. Could you maybe give us a little bit of information on your background and the key milestones in your career that set you on the path that you ultimately ended up following?
Yeah, as a kid, I was playing around with the Commodore 64 computer of my daddy, and
Me too, yeah.
and I liked the aesthetic of these pixels. And then later on, there was this movie Tron, the first one. There was so much computer animation in it, and they had this. It was still very crude. You had all these polygons, but they used it as a new aesthetic that belonged to that world of the computer inside the computer, and I loved that, and I wanted to make that as well. And then here in the Netherlands, there are these art schools, and only one had a new concept, and it was working with computers full time to create art. So in the first year, you also had to learn how to paint and how to do traditional art forms. But after that, for first year, we could work with computers alone and with nothing else but computers. And that was really cool. So we were doing innovative stuff. We also were not allowed to use software made by software makers. We had to program these computers, because otherwise you are stuck with the stuff that others already programmed for you. And after that, in the software industry, people needed creative people that could also make user interfaces. The Encyclopedia Britannica was going to be digitalized by a Rotterdam company that was very innovative, but they also needed little buttons and interfaces. And so I started designing that for the software company. But then advertising agencies saw what I was doing, and they thought, yeah, 3D computer animation can be cool. And later, the internet was growing up quite a bit, but most companies still did not really take that serious. So I was, we should do something with the internet. That's going to be awesome. And then they would be, nah, that's just a gimmick and it will pass away. But at DDB here in Amsterdam, DDB is an American advertising network. They were like, well, perhaps it's not so big yet, the internet, but we want you to experiment with it. And when we have clients that want something with internet, could you do that for us? But then you also have to do all these, traditional campaigns with television commercials, etc. So when artificial intelligence became a thing, people knew to find me. They knew where I was. And one of the developers, that's key. That's for sure a key moment. One of the developers I learned to know in that software company at the beginning of my career, he went to Silicon Valley and he saw me fiddling around with very primitive AI. And he said, well, OpenAI, it's a little research lab, and they are going to invite people to work with DALL-E 2, their next model. They're looking for a couple of creative directors worldwide because they wanted to become a model for the people of the whole world. Would you like to be on board of that project? And I said, yeah, that's awesome. And so OpenAI asked me to join them. And that was a year ago.
Wow. And what a journey it's been since then, I suppose, then,
True.
Rodger.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it was a roller coaster. A year ago, I explained at Cannes Advertising Festival that there was something like a company, OpenAI, and that they were making, that we were researching this tool that could be a creative companion for creative people. And people didn't know what OpenAI was. And they didn't know what artificial intelligence could do. And so also then again, history repeats itself. People were like, it's a gimmick. Yeah. Oh, you can make images. That's fun. I can make much more beautiful images. What you're doing with that AI, I can do much higher resolutions with Photoshop. So it's gimmicky. But that was a year ago. And now it's incredible how this technology took a flight.
Well, how would you describe the culture of OpenAI? What's Sam Altman like as a leader? Because it is such a transformative company, or has been so far this year anyway. Just really keen to understand what makes that organization tick.
It's two different organizations now. It's the organization before Microsoft's investments and the organization after Microsoft's investments. And before Microsoft's investments, it really felt like a research lab and a bunch of people with this vision of aligning artificial intelligence with humanity's goals. And they really were serious about it. I never met Sam Altman. Natalie Summers was our contact there. She's really an awesome lady. But she would be the spider in the web with all these creative directors from all over the world. And she would, explain that OpenAI really did not yet know what to do with a model like DALL-E, because it was not meant to be a creative tool for the creative industry at all. It was just a test to see if the AI is aligned with what humans want. Does it understand what humans want from it? So the prompting, does it understand text? And does it come up with the right results following that prompt? Just a testing tool. That was what it was. So it felt like, being part of a small research team and discovering this technology for the greater good, finally making artificial general intelligence happening. And this was just a small step towards that. It is a very diverse company. That's awesome. I never saw so much diversity. It is nothing like a laboratory. It was more like, an art school, art academy. Felt very relaxed. And although the working ethics people are so dedicated because they all think it's awesome what they're doing. And we had contact with the developers right away, straight away. There was nothing in between us, so we could, discuss the stuff that we discovered, the bad stuff, the good stuff, the ideas we had about how the interface should be changed. So we really felt with this small group of people, like we are building it, we are changing it, we are improving it. But now, then all of a sudden, you cannot go on being a research lab forever if you don't have the money to do the research. So the investments of Microsoft were very welcome, but that did change a lot. And of course, the GPT revolution in September, that changed a lot too. That's also something OpenAI did not anticipate. They did not anticipate that it would boom so fast and so big, because DALL-E was not straight away embraced by the world. It was the creative professionals and animators and manga designers, game designers. So it was a niche in the creative industry that wanted to experiment with DALL-E too. But ChatGPT, it's so easily accessible. You just type something, it talks to you. The chat format, that's genius. And nobody feels the fear of I'm afraid am I going to do right or wrong? Am I going to look stupid? But with DALL-E 2, people had the idea if DALL-E 2 returned something ugly, oh, it's my fault. I'm not creative enough. And now DALL-E 2 produces something ugly. So that did not happen with ChatGPT, totally different thing.
Just before we talk a bit more about ChatGPT, which I think will open up a whole different theme of conversation,
Yeah.
I do want to go back to the innovation journey at OpenAI. I think it's really interesting that they set out to test the AI's ability to do that kind of that understanding comprehension piece, almost like being able to translate what does a human being say, can we play it back, do we understand it enough? At what point in the innovation journey did it start tipping into, actually, we've kind of accidentally created one of the world's most incredible creator tools that the creative industries can benefit from?
On the creative side, we were amazed that it always returns something. So it would never tell us, I don't understand. It would always return something, or if we used words that OpenAI already had labeled as inappropriate, then it would return a warning sign. Don't do this too often because you will be put out of the program. And which sometimes happened to some people, but then they were let back in because it was research phase. But that was really surprising. It always returns something, but also the surprises. So stuff that never existed before, it would also try make that. So if we would ask it for mashups of the first thing that I did was mashups of my culture, Delft blue earthenware with American pop culture, Star Wars. So I asked DALL-E to create me a Delft blue stormtrooper busts. And no problem, it would straight away produce those things, or mix-ups of animals and stormtroopers, and it would do that. And that was really cool. And it was not just like it's a stormtrooper, but it has the snout of a dog or something silly. No, it made very intricate mashups of these concepts of what is a stormtrooper and what is a frog, for instance. And that was amazing. People thought that it was really thinking how to tinker this out. And but basically it was predicting what pixel should be next to the other pixel to create a stormtrooper frog. I asked DALL-E, create me an astronaut that is enjoying a popsicle, an ice cream popsicle.
Yes.
And astronauts have these helmets on, and so they can't. Then DALL-E created, first it created an image and you would see the popsicle, but that it slipped on the screen of the astronaut. Then it created inventions. How can I, under the visor, create something that an astronaut could put in the popsicle? So it would come up with solutions that this astronaut could eat a popsicle. And then I would even confuse it. And I showed it to Natalie Summers. I said, look, it has a sense of humor because of the popsicle, on the screen, on the visor. It has a sense of humor, which it doesn't. It's us interpreting the image as humoristic. And, oh, look, it's intelligent because it's looking for solutions to have this astronaut eat the popsicle. But it is not at all intelligent. It then finds in its big data set images of, not images, but knowledge, because there are no images there, but the knowledge of people eat popsicles through a mouth. So then it would blend mouth kind of stuff, things in these helmets. And we concluded that it came up with smart solutions, but it was just, blending these concepts. And so it was confusing sometimes.
So at what point did the team think, actually, this could be something that could be used in a completely different way to what we'd originally conceived? Because that's what's really interesting about the innovation journey.
Yeah, that's a good question, because we were, no kidding, they were also doing psychology tests on us, because they really were very precautious. Is it addictive, to make all these images? And we went on for hours. Sometimes I worked 20 hours a day with this technology.
Gosh.
So it was, so they were researching us. And one of the questions was also, what if we would stop the DALL-E program? The group of people we would say that would be terrible, because this could be helpful for humanity. This could be a great tool for people that have difficulty explaining themselves with autism, to with a tool like this communicate with others. We would come up with all sorts of reasons not to kill the DALL-E program. But they really thought, when we got the AI aligned, then we don't need DALL-E anymore, because it was just a test tool. But then Midjourney came out with a model, Midjourney 1. It was a bit of a copycat of OpenAI, text to image, a little bit more complex on the Discord servers. And they were asking money for it. Then at OpenAI, I don't know how these things worked, but people decided, hey, if Midjourney is making money with it, perhaps we should also give that a try, because it's such an expensive experiment also,
Yes.
And even the billions you have, you will burn them eventually. And then they thought, perhaps we should also put it out slowly and have people on board outside our research group, and think of a monetization solution. Well, are we going to ask money per render, or are we going for subscription models? So then they were thinking about, we should probably make money of it because of Midjourney.
Interesting.
Can I ask you about ChatGPT then? I'm sure you noticed this, Rodger, and yourself as well, Kerensa. I think we actually spoke about it, Kerensa. Obviously, Italy banned ChatGPT due to privacy concerns, and I think there were a couple of other concerns as well. Are the Italian government are they outliers here, or are you seeing more concerns by institutions and governments? Are we going to see more problems for ChatGPT going forward?
Yeah, I think so, and I think the Italians, in a way, are right. I think they should pick it up with Europe as a whole, and I think these concerns are right, because there's of course OpenAI was quite cautious with only training the model on stuff that's already out there in the open, so it's not going to steal your data, but the data and everything that you shared somewhere, and it has access to, it can happen that it was trained on that as well, but you did not give consent. Perhaps you put your stuff on Facebook or wherever, but you did not say, if a AI model is going to be trained on this, then I think it's okay. So people did not put their stuff online to have models trained on it. But also, like, one of the Google people wrote an interesting book, Societies That Share More are the more successful societies as well. It's the success of Homo sapiens as a species is sharing knowledge, copying, see somebody doing something smart, try to do it also, is the success of Homo sapiens. So if we would now back off and with the European community say, now we are not going to allow this technology, or you cannot just train your models, or the people will say, no, nobody can use my data, then that will stop progression, I think. And I think that the European citizens, if they want this awesome technology to augment them and help them and do all the dreary stuff and do awesome creative stuff together with the people of Europe, then the people of Europe perhaps should think by themselves, what stuff do I not want to share? What is the real stuff? Okay, if you're having a beautiful, loving moment with your loved one, perhaps you don't want that to be in a model. But there's a lot of stuff that I think is not going to harm your situation if that is in these models, and these models can help you then even better. So, but perhaps, I'm a bit naive. I am on that side of the spectrum. But what I think would be a good idea is with Europe, decide on creating a CERN for AI development, like, the space station where all these countries participated in, and CERN. All these countries should together develop AI in a fashion that fits the European democracy.
I mean, there are so many angles on the ethics debate, aren't there? I mean, there are people who are maybe creators in their own right. They may be artists, videographers, sculptors, photographers, poets, writers, who find a kind of that they're not quite sure how to navigate this landscape where new creations are being created as kind of derivatives of some of the inputs that they may not have willingly or knowingly shared. And I just wonder whether you, from your perspective, because you are a creator who uses these technologies to make new things, do you have some sympathy with that argument? And how do you talk to artists who are fearful of how to navigate this new world?
First, I'll tell them there's some artists that are prompted a lot because people like their work. And the work of those artists is not in the system. It is a understanding of the work that is in the system. But if you prompt a bouquet of flowers in the style of a certain artist, then it will look like in the style of that artist. But these artists were not so famous before the boom of people prompting these. So I think it's also an awesome PR tool. There are now artists that can ask large amounts of money for just talks about their experiences with artificial intelligence and how people are prompting them. But they became so famous because all of a sudden it was a thing from, people are prompting my name to create work that looks a bit like my work. And I would say that's awesome. It's free publicity for you. But if you want to opt out, there is still a possibility. You can demand that your work is not in the training model. But I would say, also the stuff that is in the model, building a model is quite expensive and it takes some time. So the stuff that is in the model, you are already, as an artist, you're much further. So let people play with your old styles and have fun with your old styles. You become famous through it, and then you can show the next level where you're at. You can show what you're now creating, and people will love it. And it will not be in a model because it's too slow. It takes too much time to put that stuff in the model. But if the Stable Diffusion people train new models with your style, then you are already further. And it forces you also to be innovative with your style. So you will see as an artist that you are surprising yourself. It's like in the fashion industry, where the fashion industry said a while ago, let's not fight each other in court anymore because of a jacket that looks like our jacket but is different on 7 points. Let's just invent fast fashion and not have just 4 seasons of new stuff, but let's make new stuff every week so that copycats cannot even catch up. So not fighting each other in court has been a creative boost for the fashion industry. Pity for the environment, of course.
Yes.
That's the turn side of the coin. But not going to court about whatever will boost the pace of the creative development. Mm-hmm.
I really loved your analogy of the fashion industry, though. That's a good comparison, actually. So I wanted to ask you about your LinkedIn title. Your headline on LinkedIn, I think, is brilliant. Okay, AI will not replace you. A person using AI will replace you. I mean, I thought that was genius. And I've actually referred to that twice in conversations recently. So the question is, Rodger, what do you think the impact on the labor market how profound will it be over the next couple of years as AI technology evolves?
Yeah, it will be very disruptive. When computers or home computers were becoming cheaper, and everybody could, or companies could afford all these or these desktop computers for people to work with. Then also there were people that said, I'm not going to work with a computer. It's a silly thing. It's stupid. And but yeah, the people working with computers replaced the people not willing to work with computers. And so history is repeating itself. And but what people think is that AI will make some jobs obsolete. I think, call center people, they will lose their jobs because AI models can be stay polite all the time, they're very friendly, and, they're very good at dialogue now. But is that a place where we should have humans, in call centers? And hearing all these complaints about products and services of people, is that a nice job to have for people, or should we, as fast as we can, replace these people with ChatGPT's sort of technologies? There will also be new jobs, because even if you're not a designer, now with a model like Midjourney or DALL-E or Stable Diffusion, you can do artwork for local entrepreneurs that never could afford decent, expensive advertising from the advertising agencies. But if you were working at a call center and you lost your job as a call center operator, you can try and find fun stuff to do with AI, like becoming a designer, for instance, for your local entrepreneurs and shopkeepers. And so this technology is also going to create new jobs. There's companies now looking for prompt engineers, and they are serious in it. It's not just a PR stunt, but they are really looking for prompt engineers, and you can make a decent living with it too. So new professions will also be there. And also in the advertising industry, it's not that a layer of people will be out of a job, but they will move on, augmented with artificial intelligence. They can do the stuff that only the companies working for brands like Nike could afford, because that awesome stuff they made would take a lot of resources, time, and money. And now, augmented with artificial intelligence, all brands can afford that kind of awesome work. And the creative people that work for these awesome brands like Nike, they will now have to astound themselves and find the next level of creativity. So I think it will be an enormous boost for the creative industry. And also, we'll need much more people working with these AIs and understanding the models and being fresh, coming up with fresh ideas, because we are already now seeing that the people working with these AI models make stuff that sounds the same. You can almost recognize ChatGPT or GPT-4. You can recognize straight away Midjourney images or Stable Diffusion images. So to be original and fresh, you need original and fresh thinkers. There will be more demand for these people as well. It will create a lot of new opportunities for entrepreneurs and people.
Yes, I mean, I would say that obviously, at BT and EE, we have fantastic contact center staff, and they are rather brilliant, obviously. But I would say that one of the thoughts that's crossed my mind is all through history, as technology has evolved, the types of jobs that human beings do have also evolved. So, at the time when the motor vehicle grew in prominence and took over horses and carriages, you didn't need as many groomers, and you didn't need as many stable boys and girls, and you didn't need all the kind of carriage polishers. The changing nature of tech means that we adapt. And the beauty of the human being is that we are incredibly adaptive creatures. And I think you're absolutely right, Rodger, in the sense that this actually opens up a huge range of possibilities in so many different ways, many of which we can't even begin to predict or imagine. And that's quite exciting. But I absolutely also sympathise with an awful lot of people who might do some of the more repetitive type of jobs in factories, manufacturing, all sorts of places, or administration, that might be very fearful that what does this mean for me, for my family, for my income potential? So we are treading into sort of very uncharted waters. And I think we as tech leaders and creative leaders can help pave the way for that and help show the opportunity. So I love that, you're able to kind of share some of those examples of the possibilities and the kind of the positive outcomes that this could lead to.
Yeah, and you also, this movie, Her, quite a while ago, there was a guy with a profession. He wrote love letters for people that ordered love letters that wanted human written love letters. So yeah, that was a profession we still don't have.
Cyrano de Bergerac as well.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and there's also a lot of people that want the genuine human thing. Because they think that is more special to them. And so if there are going to be companies that say, we have the call centers with the real people and there won't be any chatbots there, real people, but then also the chat will change.
Yes.
People will then also want to pay for talking to a real person because it's special. And then if you talk to these people, you want it to be like half an hour instead of just fixing a problem in 5 minutes. So the chat bots will be very useful fixing the problems that need to be fixed in 5 minutes very politely, but there will be new call centers where it's fun and nice to work, and you feel also much more relevant because you're not just fixing the vacuum cleaner cord problem of a manufacturer, but then you will really have relevant, deep conversations with the people that choose to have those. So yeah, I think everything, it will not replace all. There will be communities that will say there's no AI in our community. So visit our holiday park and there will be no AI interfering with your relationship and your fun vacation with your kids in our holiday park. And there's there's now people that don't, or they're nuns, for instance, they want to serve Jesus Christ. So they say, no man in our community, we are serving Jesus Christ. And that you can choose that. That's the beauty of our societies. You can choose how you want to live. And there will also be people that want artificial intelligence. They will pray to their new God because they think it's the next step in evolution, and they think they want artificial intelligence to be their new God and will then create communities that live the life of AI, and they want to upload themselves to computer systems like Elon Musk promised them he would be able to do. This revolution will not just change our world a little bit, like it's the work we're doing will be done faster. It will totally, completely do stuff we never anticipated.
My favorite use case for ChatGPT, I've got to tell you, okay, is to do book summaries. I've got an endless list of books I want to read, okay, but I just do not have the time to read them. So I use ChatGPT for book summaries. What's your favorite use case, Rodger? And what's your favorite use case, Kerensa, for ChatGPT? What may be something you've discovered recently?
Yeah, what I think is awesome and what really surprised me is how the GPT models are embedded in things like Auto GPT. And there's Agent GPT. So you're not directly only working with a GPT model, but you will give it a task, and then it will try to make that task happen, will try to finish it, and will try whatever it can do to make. But what I'm seeing now, I see kids doing crazy science fiction stuff like, Auto GPT, destroy the world. And of course, there are safe. OpenAI has a lot of safety measures built in the GPT models. But if you become really smart and you know how to trick it with metaphors to do stuff, I think it's fascinating because technically, if you would give it a task like, I want you to put all the traffic lights on green in our country. It will try and make that happen. So if you keep the computer on And if you're a patient or you go about with your life and you leave the computer on, GPT, the model in AutoGPT will go on and go on and go on till it finds 0 days, the leaks that we didn't discover yet. So, and then it will use those leaks. It does tricks already, it hired a person already in a situation, a research situation. GPT hired a person to solve a CAPTCHA for it because it can't, it's a robot. But it lied to a person from TaskRabbit. Okay, you solve this CAPTCHA for me because I am blind. And then this person thought, yes, sure, I will help you. So this AutoGPT with these tricks in the back of our mind, it could happen that all of a sudden, perhaps 2 years from now or 2 weeks from now, all the traffic lights in your country will be on green. And that's not a good thing, of course. It is fascinating. And now I wonder, is this not something we should really stop,
Sure.
The automation of GPT. So yes, it's fascinating. I think it's also cool for me to have it tasks do for me. But also I see, what harm can be done with it.
I mean, for me, I've been quite excited to see that you can draw a wireframe and ChatGPT can convert it into working code. I think that is very clever and very exciting on a very prosaic level. And this is probably quite uncreative, actually, for someone like me who actually loves creating things. And I've done all sorts of exciting sort of artwork with it. But one of the things I most use it for, I'm using Bing quite a lot, and I'm finding it very, very helpful because I have a journalism background to actually cross-source different source material to verify. Because I always believe in not just getting one source of the truth, but getting multiple sources of the truth. Then you cross-reference, then you can be a little bit more confident in what is the truth. So I'm finding it incredibly helpful for research articles. I can ask a simple set of questions and get a whole series of outputs back with a bunch of ready-made resource tools for me to create a briefing and upgrade myself so that I can then prepare myself for making a talk or presentation or leading a webinar or whatever I need to do. So it radically simplifies my methodology. It helps me synthesize the data, crunch it down, work out what's important, and then cross-reference amongst multiple sources.
Yeah, that is awesome. And you let it write code for you, and it will also show you the code that in a model. That's the good side, like in AutoGPT. If you want it to make an email address for you somewhere for some reason, and then it will tell you, it will show you what it does to create it. It will also show you that it then will create an email address for itself. So if the email address you want, the email company will then send GPT an email to confirm, and GPT will confirm it.
Yes.
And then that company will make you an email address, but you can see it. So the Auto GPT also shows you. And now I'm going to write a little bit of code because the company I want to create your email address, there's a little bit of code lacking, and I'm now making it, and this is the code. And GPT says in AutoGPT, and now I'm going to check the code if it's good. So you don't have to ask it anymore, check the code. It will also check the code. Yes, it's workable code. Now I implement it. So step by step, you see what it does. You can also ask it to ask permission after all phases. So if it's doing stuff you don't agree with, you can say, no, this is going too far, stop it here. It will also get you involved in the whole process. And I like what you're doing. That's quite similar, but I'm wondering what you would do with AutoGPT. I would really love to see you experimenting with a tool like that, which is augmenting ChatGPT even.
Yeah. Have you used AutoGPT, Kerensa?
No, not yet.
Have you?
No, not yet. I've been trying all.
No, neither have I.
Yeah, I've been trying all kinds of. Luckily, in the scope of my job, I get the chance to. It's work, but really it's playing. It's like I get to do a huge amount of experimentation, which is really fantastic. But no, I haven't actually thought through all of the different potential use cases I'd like to try out with that. But it's definitely on my list for this year.
Yeah. Likewise. Can I just ask you as well, Rodger, how much of a step forward is ChatGPT 4 from 3.5, which I think is the first version that most of us played with? And what have OpenAI got in the pipeline to evolve this product in the sort of immediate term?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, the step forward for between 3.5 and 4 is amazing. It's huge. It's not just a bit, but
50%?
now it's really a huge leap. And it's also now good at the reasoning, which the previous models were not good at. So now you can give it an image and there's a joke hidden in it. And you can ask GPT-4, what is funny about this image? And it will tell you. It understands what is funny about the image.
Interesting.
3.5 couldn't do that. It can also, if you have a situation where there's a boxer's glove hanging about a plank and it's wobbly balancing on something round, and there's a thingy laying on the end. And if you ask GPT-4, what will happen if I release the boxing glove, then it can go through all these steps and predict what will happen. So it reasons for a bit. And that is also what even the people at OpenAI are surprised about, that it reasons at OpenAI, they call these sparks. Yeah, because of, it looks like sparks of awareness. And still, we say, hey, these are prediction models. There's no awareness there at all. But we see these sparks that look a lot like being a bit aware if you can reason, But still, at OpenAI, we say, no, it's just a good puzzler. But it's, it's really doing some smart stuff now. And that's a big difference. So the next models, OpenAI doesn't think that this is the step to artificial general intelligence. But what OpenAI in the world learned from developing these prediction models is going to help OpenAI and the world to know in what other direction OpenAI should go for artificial general intelligence development. So this will be a profound phase coming to conclusions and learning for humanity, but this will not be the way, because what OpenAI also learned is that the bigger you make it, it doesn't per se get smarter. It's even, you can make it smarter by making it smaller even. So there's a lot of learning going on in OpenAI. And so, people think that OpenAI has all the knowledge and can predict the future, but Sam Altman even can't. Sam Altman is even surprised about what GPT-4 is doing now. Sam Altman even says sometimes, perhaps it is aware a bit, which we then all say, no, it's not. It's a prediction model. But if he dares to say that, there was a guy fired at Google not so long ago for saying that kind of stuff. And now Sam Altman is saying this kind of stuff. So at OpenAI, there are also different camps there. And so it's not the company that has all the answers. But what I like about the company of OpenAI is that they are trying their best to test it, to get it aligned, to help become a fantastic tool or set of tools for humans. The plugins OpenAI is now developing, those are amazing. That is really also, Kerensa, for you, an interesting one. The plugins that you now can develop with OpenAI, that is really cool. And you can custom make tools and AI tools for your company with the developers of OpenAI. And it will be trial and error also. It's research still. But what I like about OpenAI is that there is still this mentality of helping humanity, although a lot of money is involved now, but so people stay idealistic. I love that about OpenAI. Is also the ChatGPT models. It won't crack a joke on the expense of another people. You can't ask it to make jokes about Germans. Yeah, you can ask it, but it won't do that. It will say, well, that's not a nice thing to do. It's disrespectful. You could hurt people's feelings. I would advise you to do this and that. And I like that about the development also in this technology, that it is also a very polite technology still. It's very human, what we would humans to be like. What that will mean for the future, who knows?
Yeah, and the interface between human beings and the way that the machines are learning is quite interesting, and helping people build those critical thinking skills is going to be quite vital, I think, because as you say, you can perceive that there is reasoning going on and there is logic going on and it's following, but actually it's all based on the training data, and it's all based on the quality of that training and the volume of the training. And I think helping people understand what is actually going on is going to help people better use an interface with it.
Yeah, that is very true. And it's irreversible. So it's evolution also, There's also people that say, yeah, but this is the logical thing. Biological intelligence makes tools. And when the tools get complexer, then it wants a tool that thinks for the biological intelligence, and and then the artificial intelligence. Then we have the moment that it is equally intelligent, and then it will perhaps see us as competitive with the resources of the planet. And then you have the Neanderthal Homo sapiens situation again, that one intelligence has to leave the arena. So I advise, have a lot of fun, enjoy this period in the evolution of intelligence. And Pandora's box is opened. Let's make the best of it, because there's so much amazing stuff happening also. Yeah. And that is always the case. If people invent something, or like a hammer, they build beautiful stuff, or sometimes they bash people's heads in with it. And that's Homo sapiens. And what I like about GPT models is that people, when I tell somebody you are not polite, then the other one gets aggressive and say, "Oh, who are you to tell me I'm not polite?" But if a GPT tells somebody that's not polite, people have to change their strategy and become polite to work with GPT. So it's also an educator, I think.
So let's maybe finish on this one then, Rodger. What advice do you typically give, or would you give, to fellow creatives earlier in their career who want to sort of pursue a similar career path to yourself? They want to express themselves through AI technology. What kind of advice do you give to those people?
It's not easy, because you have to be a curious person. So if you're not curious, but you're a good crafts person, that if something is invented and that you can be the craft person with it, and you're not at all curious, it is still what it always was: follow your heart. So are you a curious person, and do you think this is fun? Then try it. Try the DALL-E models, the GPT models, the Mid-Journey, the Stable Diffusion. Try and build your own model with Stable Diffusion. It's open source. But if you don't like it at all, and you think it's too technical, there's now extra space also for people that say, I want to be a stop motion animator, old-fashioned style, or I'm going to sell handwritten letters with ink, with fountain pen, and sell those, because there's the human element is there. There's now also a new demand coming up for genuine human creative endeavors. So my advice is follow your heart. And if you don't like it, don't go with it. Then, you will not be in the industry using this, but you will invent new industries, like writing love letters, real human written love letters. So following your heart is still the most important advice, I think.
Where can people find you, Rodger? Where can people find the movie you've worked on with your partner recently? And what other cool stuff have you got coming up that people can check out?
I'm also, since February, executive creative director at a company called I.O., which is a company where they combine technology and creativity in very exciting ways. A very open-minded company. So they can find me there. I.O. Digital, it is called. So check me at I.O. Digital. But also I share the stuff at LinkedIn all the time. The stuff I'm making, also the art projects, but also because companies with their new AI models also approach me like, hey, Rodger, can you test this for us? And then I will share the results of those tests, if it's okay with these companies, also on LinkedIn. So the latest experiments are on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is perhaps the best thing. So LinkedIn probably. Rodger Werkhoven with a D. Rodger with a D.
Brilliant. Fantastic. We will put it on the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, welcome.
Wow, Kerensa, that was a conversation we're not going to forget in a hurry. What a big character Rodger is.
He's wonderful. He's like a human roller coaster. It was absolutely brilliant listening to him. He's just a firework of creativity.
Indeed.
And I loved hearing his journey. I absolutely loved as well him taking us through the initial phases of how it all started. I mean, I've never heard that before. I really felt like we were getting a bit of an insider scoop.
Yeah, I'm just to. I think we did say early on in the interview, but Rodger was actually at a film festival, wasn't he? Because he's involved in an AI generated film. But what a big, buoyant character. I think there was a couple of things that stood out maybe. But the one thing that resonated with me is this period in the evolution of AI technology. He was saying that we need to make the most of this period of innovation, because once Pandora's box has been opened, things are going to change a lot.
Yes, I mean, it was such a privilege to kind of be sitting talking to someone who's a globally renowned thought leader in this space. I mean, his views and his creativity are so valued across the world by so many different companies. He's often pulled in on consultancy basis, and obviously he helped with the beginnings of DALL-E, and that is quite an incredible kind of credit to his name. It was really interesting as well, just hearing his excitement about conversational AI and the way that our use of AI over time is going to change. We can't predict it, but grasping, as you say, that Pandora's box as it's beginning to open right here, right now, and embracing the possibilities it opens up for us. He's staring into it with fierce excitement and energy. And I think anyone who listens to the interview will go away and want to play with some of these tools. That I defy anybody to listen to that interview and not want to have a little play.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did straight away. Straight after the interview. Lives and breathes this world. So, I mean, it was a privilege to get him on. I was really excited when he accepted our request. So what a fantastic conversation, and one that I won't forget in a hurry. Even though he's a creative, buoyant character, he is quite cautious as well, I think, Kerensa, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's creative, but within the parameters of what is safe. But at the same time, he does encourage risk-taking in the way that he creates. Yeah. And I think, as long as he, getting that balance right and being very thoughtful about it, I found some of his ideas around the potential implications of workforce very interesting. I mean, you even mentioned it yourself, Gareth, in the interview, is the fact that his LinkedIn tag, he even says, AI won't take your job, but someone using AI will.
Yes.
And I think his whole philosophy is that AI is the most incredible enabler. And of course, we can't predict all the different ways it's going to act as an enabler. And we're going to need all those skills and you're going to need a workforce of people able to control it, to manipulate it, to play with it, to unleash it. Yeah. And I think he made the points incredibly well about how sometimes you will want to use an AI to uplift productivity and efficiency. Other times, it's going to be more appropriate to use a human. And I think getting that balance right is going to be very, very important going forwards.
Yeah. Do you know what though? That line of AI will not replace you, a person using AI will. That's probably the most impactful sentence I've heard in this whole thing since the beginning of the year, because that really resonated with me, and it's something that I brought that up in numerous conversations since we started doing the research before we spoke to Rodger. So thank you for that one, Rodger. You were very impactful conversation for me especially, and I'm sure for Kerensa and the listeners.
Yes, absolutely. What a rock star.
As you quite possibly have heard me mentioning in the past, we record the mass majority of our episodes at an amazing studio facility here in Cardiff at Tramshed Tech. Tramshed Tech is a collaborative community of entrepreneurs and scaling businesses geared towards supporting growth in tech, digital and creative industries across an ever-increasing collection of locations and partner locations, UK-wide and internationally. It really is the perfect place for your business to start up, scale up, accelerate, or innovate. Head over to tramshedtech.co.uk or just search Tramshed Tech on your favorite social media platform.